All right. Thank you for inviting us today to present the Q1 results and a presentation on the geology of Zgounder and Boumadine. I will just walk you through a quick presentation that we have used this morning with the market. Some highlights of the quarter. The quarter was a very good quarter. We had a production of 474,000 ounces of silver, which is the second best quarter of the history of Aya. The first best was in Q4 of last year, but that was a very unique quarter because of a high grade zone that we were mining at the time. But if you look at it historically, this is our second highest quarterly production, which we're very pleased with. The cash costs were aligned with our guidance at $14.56 per ounce, and it compares very well to our budget. What's also important is the AISC, the all-in sustainable cost, is at 14.9, very low in comparison to our industry. We generated revenue for the quarter of $10.4 million, but really important is we generated an operating cash flow of $4 million. During the year, we closed a $92 million financing, and our cash position at the end of the quarter was $91 million. We're fully financed. The construction we'll talk about, we're 32% complete, which is extremely important. And Boumadine, our second project, very interesting to see that the strike length is now 3.4 kilometer long and still growing. So just very quickly to compare to the guidance, all of our KPIs are currently aligned with the guidance. Silver production is aligned. Cash cost is aligned, and actually is going to get probably better than the guidance. The average grade this quarter was a little bit lower, but due to the nature of the deposit, that's normal, and we'll have quarters where we're going to be above our guidance. Mill recoveries is excellent. Ton process is above nameplate capacity. Nameplate capacity is 700 ton per day, and we're running almost at 800 ton per day. So it's extremely, extremely good. When you see it on charts, as we're seeing right now, I think the one on the left-hand side at the top shows you the production over the last 5 quarters. So we're, Q1 in 2022 was a bit more difficult, but since then we've had 4 very, very good quarters. Below this, on the bottom left-hand side, you see the grade. So this is typical of this deposit. Is the average should be around 250. Our guidance is 260 for the year, and Q1 historically is always a little bit more difficult, but it's normal for this type of a deposit. On the right-hand side, you have the average recovery, which is very strong. That's a strong KPI. And you have the ore process at 72,737 ton. This is a record. We're at the highest we've ever been. As I said, we're above design capacity. The next slide is interesting. On the left-hand side, the cash flow. If you look at the last 3 quarters, Q3, Q4, Q1, we've generated about $13 million of operating cash flow. So very strong momentum right now going forward. We're doing extremely well. The gross margin is good. On the right-hand side, you have the cost of sale, which is a function of our production, but the cash costs are good. So by definition, when your cash costs are good, your cost of sale is good as well. And the cash cost at $14.56. When you compare that to the last 5 quarters, I mean, it's aligned with where we should be and aligned with our guidance. Rapidly on the ESG front, as you know, we have a $100 million loan with EBRD, which has many KPIs on ESG. So we are following this very closely. Very happy to say that in Q1 we had no LTI recorded, so no injuries recorded. We had no fatalities, obviously, but no injuries. So it was a very good quarter for health and safety. The power line is being built and coming, on track to be there when we start the new plant next year, which will reduce our cost of energy by about 40%. We also have water testing, air testing, noise testing. All of that is being put in place. The construction, you saw the video that was distributed this week. You know that at right now the video has been seen 36,500 times as of lunchtime today. So it's a major success. And you see the construction, and this is all into hard rock. I mean, what you're seeing there is in volcanic rock, and we've prepared the ground, and that's where the plant's being built as we speak. So the plant is well advanced. You see the progress. The processing plant's at 26%. The underground's at 29. Tailings and water management at 41. Electrical infrastructure at 18, and on-site infrastructure at 53. We're doing extremely well. Here are a few pictures, and you can see the water storage area. That's going well. The earthwork is ongoing, and interesting on the right left hand side. You see on the left hand side at the bottom. Sorry, you see the ore silos that are being erected. So it's ongoing very, very well. And now getting into exploration, which is the value creation mechanism of any mining company. We have very large drilling budget. We have 26,000 meters at Zgounder, and that will be mainly towards the second half of the year because we had to build an access ramp to go and do the drilling. We have 36,000 meters of drilling at Boumadine, which is, I would say, almost 70% completed, and that is ongoing. There are 5 rigs turning at the moment at Boumadine. We have Zgounder Regional, which is more of an exploration exercise, but that's where we do have 6,700 meters budgeted this year, and we're exploring there and being very, very active. So what you're seeing is, let me go back to Zgounder. So this is the main zone. This is where we have to drill. The blue lines that you're seeing are all, drill holes that are planned. Once we have all of those done, we will be able to identify the complete size of the main zone from the fault, which is on the left, all the way to the east. And once that's done, which we hope will be completed by the end of the year, then on the resource calculation, we will have a full picture. Obviously, there's the whole regional play here that is being investigated, and for that we have a team doing the regional exploration. We'd like to find additional ore that we could bring to the plant, which would be satellite pits. The bigger project in exploration, because Zgounder is in production, the bigger project in exploration is Boumadine. Today, you see it on the map. Today, the structure is already 3.4 kilometer long, and when we say that 3.4, that's from here all the way to the top. We are now drilling a new line here, a new fence, and that will add an additional 400 meters of strike length. So that's being done as we speak. This project is new. I mean, we've had it for many years. It's permitted. It's a mining project. It has electricity not far away. I mean, everything is there. It was a mine for many, many years. But what it has unbelievable results. A few weeks ago, we announced 192 gram per ton of silver equivalent over 129 meters. That is over here. So the system is opening up over here, and it's extremely, extremely interesting. And that's why we have this section here showing you, that the system is still open at depth. It's open to the north, it's open to the south, and it's open at depth. And that is a major, major discovery. Obviously, we need to work more on it, and we will, take your questions. But this is the last section when we hit these 5 veins, and where normally in between it was never mineralized. Now within these veins is the stockwork, and the stockwork is mineralized. So that is a very good sign that we're going towards something much bigger. So this is a quick review of where we are. Operation going very well, fully funded, cash flow positive. We generated 4 million this quarter. Construction's going well. It's on time and on budget. And the exploration, well, that's the big upside for this company, and it's continuing to be extremely important. So, gentlemen, that completes the kind of the presentation. And David, who's our VP Exploration, and myself, we're available to answer your questions.
So, I mean, you drilled 7,500 meters in the last drilling campaign in Q4 of last year. So, when are you supposed to release those assay results? And what's the reason behind the delay?
You mean Zgounder Regional, right?
Yeah, from Zgounder Regional, yes.
Yeah, actually, last quarter in 2023, we drilled a little bit more than 4,000. And this quarter, we drilled about 2,700, if I'm right. One of the biggest reasons is the drilling was slow, and we have partial results only. So all the results are not in yet. So by the lab, the priority we're always giving to Zgounder definition and Boumadine results. So results are incomplete. What we're seeing is lots of anomalous zone, both for gold and copper mostly. And as soon as we'll get all the results, we'll get a better picture. It was the first phase of drilling, so there's some anomalies that we will have to track down and keep on drilling. And soon enough, I guess in the coming month, 2 months, we should be able to release something. So yeah, it's mostly because it's partial, and we'll get there.
Just to add on that, I think we spoke to Benoit last time. He mentioned in passing that you guys were looking to get your own test lab, assaying lab, locally. Is that right? And what's the progress on that?
We have a prep lab from the external lab. So AfriLab is having a prep lab in Zgounder that we installed, I think, in April last year. We are currently building one as well in Boumadine that will help a lot increasing the turnaround. The aim is to manage to get a turnaround of about 2 weeks. That's a hard work to reach there, but we will this year, I hope. In parallel to that, we are also developing our own internal lab that will release the pressure. So most of the production sample, the definition samples will be able to be treated in this internal lab. So we're taking significant steps to reduce the turnaround from the lab's results. It's always what's killing the momentum in exploration if we don't get the results quickly. We're aware of that, and we're working hard on this front.
Are you only looking for a silver deposit, or could you possibly be able to process other types of minerals such as gold or copper at the Zgounder mill?
Well, I will look for everything that nature gave me. So we've got a large ground in Zgounder Regional. There was lots from the grab, the mapping and everything. There was lots of copper, silver, and gold anomalies. Gold could be treated basically the same way as silver. So in the cyanide plants we have, gold would not be an issue. And we have to keep in mind also that once we commission the new facilities, we've got a flotation units that basically will be not in use anymore. That could easily be used for concentrating small amounts of copper. So any copper deposits or base metal deposits that would be in the vicinity of the mill could be an increase in revenue. So we'll take it.
Have you seen some pure silver deposits in the soil sampling, or what have you seen from that?
We have some silver anomalies. What we've done last year was a stream sediment. So basically it's very tiny concentrations in the sample. So in the order of ppbs and not even ppms. But they're delimiting some areas with higher potential where the material was coming from the outcrops up in the mountains. So we had several anomalies, especially on Tala, Iza sectors that we are currently drilling. And the other sectors, which has the best anomalies, it's what we call the Tupkal, so in the southwest of Zgounder Regional. The biggest issues there, we received the stream sediments late, but it's very complicated to build a road access to and platform for drilling there. We are currently doing that, getting all the authorization for the access roads and the pad preparation. So that would be the next step, start following up on those anomalies in the Tupkal area. And so far in both Iza and Tala, we received some anomalous results, and we'll keep on investigating those. So copper, silver, and gold anomalies.
And then we wanted to ask you as well, more strategically. Of course, you have a limit on the throughput that you can actually expand in the Zgounder mill later on. So what kind of size of a deposit will you be happy with to say, okay, this is the one that we're gonna satellite from? What would you settle with in terms of, we can...
It always depends on the distance from the deposit. The biggest issues will mostly be how long can we truck and what grade. But the mill is already commissioned and everything. So even a small deposit, like 5 million ounces of silver equivalent, it's just incremental to the project. And as we discover those satellites, then we will have to prioritize, depending on the grade and the size, which one we pass first. Is it more worth to bring a ton from Zgounder to the mill, or is it more worth to bring the satellite one? Well, mostly depends on the grade and the recovery from those satellites, not the size. I don't have to find a standalone. If I go work on Boumadine right now, there's no mill, so I need to find a standalone. If I take a new license somewhere else in Morocco, I need to find a standalone that will justify the mill. But we have the mill right there. So everything we find is incremental, regardless if it's 50,000 ounces of gold or a few tons of copper or 5 million ounces of silver. So anything will be incremental to the project, adding mine life or justifying an expansion if it's big.
I see.
Nice. In order to touch back on Tala and Iza, how far away are those targets from the Zgounder mill, and how would it? I mean, are they amenable? Would it be able to quickly mine them, or in terms of access? And yeah.
Well, access will always be a challenge in the mountains. I'll be honest. But one of the beauty of Zgounder Regional is every license are within an 18-kilometer radius from the mill, so everything is trucking distance from. So any discovery could come to the mill. No issues there.
So with these particular targets, are you seeing? Do they seem to be shallow? Open pit amenable.
Oh, so far that's what we're looking for. Obviously, it's the first phase of exploration. If you go back a year ago, if we would have had this discussion back in February or March last year, I would be only able to show you a blank map. Nothing had been done. There was 30 grabs altogether taking on all the exploration license outside of Zgounder. So, of course, both Maya and Aya after that concentrated on defining the deposits, working to build a mine and the expansion. So we're basically starting from zero. So we've done the spectral, we've done the geophysics, we've done the mapping, the grabs, and the stream sediment. So now we are at the stage that we have defined targets. And of course, we'll look at the surface first. And as the geological information advance, then we'll start looking for a deeper structure. But we're not there yet. We're barely scratching the surface. So all this 273 square kilometer of license, we're looking for a deposit on surface mostly.
And to follow up on that, since you're looking for satellite pits, how far or how deep do you usually drill? Yeah, in each hole.
Most of the holes, we will concentrate on the first 250 at a 50-meter angle. So basically, we're touching the first 200 meters, 180 meters, 200 meters from surface. But again, depends on the size of the structure at the surface. If we have the feeling, we have the continuity. So we put end phases on the first 100 meters, but some holes goes and test the 180, 200 meter range below surface. We never know. We could have a nice surprise at depth as well.
could you explain the strategy and methods you use in order to identify these targets, and how many more you have already tested? You tested 3 targets in the first quarter. How many more targets do you see in the regional properties?
As I say, we have to look everything in time. A year ago, it was a blank map, so there was not a single target, right? So we've done a very high detailed hyperspectral survey. So with a spatial resolution of 3 meters, of 30 centimeters, and a spectral resolution of 3 meters, that helped a lot identifying the alteration zones and some lithologies as well. We've done the geophysics, so the magnetics, the electromagnetics, the radiometrics. We've done the mapping, so we have the geological information now. We've done lots of gram sampling, stream sediments. So right now we are probably defining an extra 15 targets. But as the information goes, we will keep on defining new targets. So the idea was to go fast in 2022 to define at least 3-4 drill-ready targets for greenfield exploration. But as the information keeps on going, we will define more and more targets. And we will add permits as well. So we're going to look at the possibility of having some other exploration license, increase the footprint in the area. We believe in the potential of this area. And as I said before, we already have a mill constructed. So any small satellite or medium-sized satellites are incremental to the project. So it's a very nice greenfield area.
Okay. I think we'll ask a few questions on Zgounder as well. So there's been a lot of drilling at Zgounder since the last mineral resource estimate in 2021. When do you plan to provide an update? Will that be coincident with Boumadine's update beginning of next year, or what's the plan?
We're planning year-end, so yes, it will be towards the same period. One of the main reasons, Benoit explained it in his presentation, it's most of the bottom part of the deposit is barely accessible from surface drilling. The topography is hard. It's getting deep. We have the mining development to avoid, so we cannot drill from everywhere. So we took the decision to wait for better access, and with the new development, then we will get those access in June and July. So we'll be able to start drilling all the way down to the granite in systematic fence drilling across a section drilling. So we are taking the steps to provide an upgrade in the resource by the end of the year. And we also have to keep in mind that most of the meterage last year, I think, was 33,000 meters. Lots of it was used for definition drilling and production drilling because there was some issues with the grade at the beginning of the year. So the effort went to help the production guys a little bit. This year it will be our story, and we'll complete the 26,000 meters, and we'll provide a update of resource by the end of the year.
So from your point of view, after this drill program, do you feel like the Zgounder ore body will be, almost fully mapped at that point, or do you see some more? I mean,
what we know of Zgounder today will almost be fully mapped. But as we progress with the exploration on the far west, that could be additional knowledge and additional resource eventually. And the same could be said about the east of the deposit. Right now, the deposit ends where we have the granophyre intrusions. And on the other side of it, we have the later on cover, the Neocene cover that would hide any expression of Zgounder at surface. So a focus of this year will start to be testing the eastern part of potential Zgounder deposit. So what we see now as a window, this window will be fully covered, but we still need to work and increase the geological understanding in order to keep on exploring. So what's going on the other side of the granite at depth, we don't know yet. What's going on under the cover of the Neocene on the east, we don't know yet. After the Zgounder fault, that's what we're drilling right now. So we'll have some answers later. But yes, the window we know and that we see in every press release or presentation, this should be fully covered this year.
So just to provide some color on your expectation or hypothesis of what could be to the east and the west. That's deeper. That would be an underground operation. What do you think about the
At the far west, it could be open pit. We'll see when we have results. And right now, if we're talking, it's speculation. But far west could be. In the east, always depend on the thickness of the cover. If there's only 25 meters of cover, that could be open pitable. If it's 150, then yeah, of course, would be underground mining. So I guess we'll answer those questions once we're reached there.
Just to add, like on the potential size, you really don't know how far that could extend both to the east and the west. There's no
there's not enough indication. No, that's one of the difficulties with silver mining. Zgounder deposit is hosted in sedimentary rocks, so there's not much alteration. You can bring as much fluid as you want through those rocks. They will not give you a big footprint of alteration that you could see in some volcanic settings. So that makes it tricky. There's not much other sulfides or magnetic rock that would give you a different signals. So it's a deposit that you have to work closely with the relationship, the structures. So it's really hard to see a footprint like we see in Boumadine, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll work it systematically, and hopefully we have some nice discoveries in the coming year as well.
Just to clarify, the plan is to test both of those to find out about the potential.
The plan this year is to focus on the window, finish the drilling in the windows. In the meantime, we are exploring in the far west because the target is ready. And we will keep advancing the knowledge and the structural understanding towards the east in order maybe next year to test drill this area. Or if we feel confident toward the year, we'll see. But right now, that's more the future.
Okay.
But in terms of the mineral resource estimate after this year, that should only contain will that contain any portion of the west and the east extensions, or?
The east for sure not. We're far from there. We need to start drilling first. The far west, we'll see. In order to declare a resource, we need more than one drill hole. So it's not just a discovery. We need the discovery. We need to follow it up. We need the drill spacing, the studies, and everything. So it's quite premature to have this part in the resource this year. For sure, the bottom part will be drilled at 25 by 25 at some areas and 50 by 50 for the rest. So we're confident that is in the resource by year end. And we'll see how the west and the east goes. They're totally greenfield exploration project, although they're near the mine.
Regarding expanding at depth, on average, how deep is the deposit until it touches the granite?
There's some areas where it will be about 650, 700 meters. As we go to the eastern margin of the deposit, then it's getting less, so maybe 150 meters.
And then, I guess for everyone's information, roughly when would you be able to release assays of testing the western potential extension then?
The far west, you mean?
Yeah.
We are drilling currently, so give a few months to complete the drilling and hopefully get the assays.
Nice.
And this one you might not be willing to answer, but I'll give it a try. The known window that you're infill drilling now, you said that you will basically map that entirely. What do you expect to announce in terms of ounces in the updated MRE for that window? If we exclude the western or eastern part, what do you think is a realistic?
Well, if you're willing to tell me what grade I will hit and what's the thickness I will hit, then I will quickly calculate it and give you the answer.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But we're confident. It's nice geology, so I'm not worried about the resource by year end.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Good updates.
Well, do you have any more questions on Zgounder, Gorm?
No, I think it was very interesting to hear about the western eastern. That will be interesting to follow in the coming quarters here. So, but let's move to the big boss, and that's Boumadine, of course. So here we have a bunch. Here we have a bunch of questions.
David, could you explain the most recent drill results with the incredible width? What does that mean for Boumadine?
Well, it means it's pretty big. That's a very good start, and it's always pleasant. But what's fun about Boumadine is as we drill, we keep on discovering. We always have to remember that there's historic and what we've done. There's only 50,000 meters of drill hole through a almost 4 kilometer strike length structure. And we also have drilled few on the satellite. So the understanding goes and what it could means, because we have stock work in the north as well. We have it elsewhere, but it's the first time where we systematically and clearly see mineralization in those veinlets. Normally, Boumadine, the mineralization was always in the massive sulfide lands that goes across that goes along the deposit. As soon as we would reach out, we had nothing, it was barren. But as we move towards the south, then we start seeing the anomaly in metal increasing. Not enough to talk about it, but we could notice an increase. And now that we get to this 6,000 north section and we hit with the 9,500 meters over a gram of gold, so 192 silver equivalent, it shows us that, okay, now even the veinlets are mineralized enough to bring economical grade. Could be an indication that we're getting closer to the source of the system, to the fluid that came through those rocks. But again, we'll see with more and more information as it goes. But it kind of seems to tend that towards the south we're getting where there's more juice than from the north. Is it because it's deeper? Is it because it's closer to the source of the south? We'll need more drilling to confirm that. But it's very exciting and it's promising well for the future of Boumadine and for the follow-up.
And just for novices to understand, when we're talking about the source, what do you expect to see there? Will that be like a continuous type mineralization, or what will the source look like?
We don't know. We need to drill. But the way we see Boumadine right now, it was always identified as a high sulfidation epithermal. More and more we look at it, and it's clearly not high sulfidation epithermal. So we are working on volcanogenic origin. So it would be, you could see it as a hybrid between a VMS style deposit and some epithermal, maybe transitional epithermal deposit, if you want. So as we get closer to the source, we might also have a magmatic impulse, bringing some molybdenum eventually. We already see some nice anomalies towards the south, bringing more copper to the system. We'll see that once we get results. Bring bigger widths, bigger grades, better grades. We just don't know yet. The possibilities are extreme, but that's where you want to be. You want to get closer to the source and get a richer deposit or bigger.
And are you planning this year to perhaps assaying for any copper and molybdenum in?
We do it systematically. That's one of the first things I've done last year when I arrived. I said, okay, we need a tracker. We were at that time believing it was epithermal. So we said, okay, we will start looking for potential porphyry, right? Everybody needs a dream. So we start including the molybdenum and the copper systematically in the assaying. In parallel, we're also doing lots of multi-element rock testing along the sections as we go to really understand the footprint of the mineralization and its system to orient the drilling later. So yeah, and we're also looking for other metals, not systematically, but on a regular basis in case we have some surprise like tin and cobalt and gallium, indium. We could have some surprise as we move along with the drilling. So we'll not blind our eyes, and we'll keep open. We'll stay open-minded.
So what do you think in terms of like how much further south will you get with this drill program this year?
It's a shame Benoit is not on the call anymore. How much money he's willing to give me this year? I mean, it's a beautiful system. We'll go step by step. We put some effort to do the definition drillings. If we want to bring in a resource update, we also need to infill drilling the central part and the south part, what we know of the south part. But we need to keep a ratio and keep extending the strike length. We've attacked the south yet. We will attack the north extension later on. we will look at depth at different areas, and we'll keep on pushing. The sections we're drilling right now is a 400 meters step out to the south. We don't have the result yet, but we see some nice things in the rock, give us confidence. We also have the geophysics that guides us our drilling. The beauty of sulfide is that they respond on the V10, so we can follow at least the path of the structure there. So we'll keep on drilling systematically towards the south as much as we can. What we cannot do this year, we'll keep on going next year. I mean, I'm intending to ask for a budget extension. I'm quite sure I will have it. I will try to convince Benoit, but we'll keep on drilling as much as we can.
So in terms of drilling meters, so if there isn't a budget extension, how much more meters do you have in expansion drilling planned for this year?
Right now, I still have about 17,000 meters to the budget. We attacked this year saying, okay, we need at least 36,000 meters in order to be able to do a resource, but we want to keep doing exploration. But we will drill at the rhythm that gives us flexibilities to do more if needed, if the results warrant more. And I'm quite convinced that so far the results are pushing towards that option. We'll see how it goes. I'm confident with the 36,000 we can come with a decent resource calculation by year end. But I would be personally disappointed if we stop at 36 meter, and I think Benoit would too. The potential there is simply too big to let it go.
Yeah, but one thing that I'm trying to figure out here, David, because you kind of have an incentive, it's kind of mixed incentives. Will you prioritize to get to kind of hit more of these veins and more, scattered systems, or will you just focus on finding that potential porphyry? Because that will be, of course, huge.
Okay, but the scattered system, right? Don't forget what it is exactly. We've got 4 typical Boumadine lands. So typical massive sulfide with sphalerite enrichment, so zinc and lead. Typical. So what we see in the 95 is the same thing as in the 36, the 02 for 3.5. The only difference is all the rocks in between those lenses are mineralized as well. So we'll keep on pushing both.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're not at the stage yet where we could say clearly what will end up at the mine necessarily, how we will mine it, how we will treat it. We know there's options for everything, but before taking a decision, what kind of mill, what kind of production, we need to have the full picture of the system. So it's important to bring a resource by year end, but it's also very important to bring an understanding. Is it an elephant or it's even bigger than an elephant?
Yes.
So all I can say right now, I'm sure it's an elephant, but it could be much bigger than an elephant. Now, how do you call it something much bigger than an elephant? We'll figure out with drilling. Yeah,
and you mentioned the potential of having more base, like seeing tin and stuff like this. I've never seen tin come up in Morocco, and it's quite a rare mineral. Can you just speak briefly on that?
But historically, the people that mined the deposits in between 89 and 92, they were systematically assaying for tin. So we will keep on looking with it. So far, we've done some tests. There is some tin in the system, but nothing close enough to economical grade so far, but it's there. Yeah. It's in the system. But is there a specific control that could have an enrichment there? We will have to figure out. Same with copper. We know there's some copper anomalies here and there. We've got some values up to 3% copper in some parts of the deposits, but spikes, right? But which structure controls the enrichment of copper? Is there a vector that will guide us to where the copper is coming from? Is there a place where we have a trap that concentrates enough to make it economic? So all that is just new information as we keep on drilling. So we just keep open-minded and, okay, we know that we have got plenty of sphalerite, so plenty of zinc, plenty of silver, plenty of gold, enough lead, and the rest we'll just see how we can concentrate it and understand it. So you've got lots of things, and if one thing is clear is that Morocco is full of surprise. You've got some cobalt deposits that are unique in the world in Morocco. You've got some silver deposits, Zgounder and Imiter, that have no equivalent elsewhere in the world, etc., etc. So Boumadine might be one of those unique examples that has no analogs anywhere else, and we'll be just the lucky first to enjoy it.
I think you mentioned something about satellites or to the north. I might have heard it wrong, but
No, there is, and we announced that also in February, and some of them were historically known. So there's one called Imiter, and there's one called Tizi. There's lots of potential there, but at one point we also need to make choice. Am I going to concentrate on the main trend where it's clear that whatever happened, it should be 80% of the resource, I guess. We did drill a little bit on Tizi and Imiter last year to have an idea. There's a little bit of drilling that is planned this year as well. We will keep it and we will keep on working it, but the main focus is the main trend. And outside of the main trend, what we put on the longitudinal is the main one, but we have at least 4 or 5 parallel structure that, depending where we are in the deposit, are almost as nice as the Boumadine structure. And as we go wider, how many more of those? As we go south, those 5, for example, are getting closer. We'll see.
When are you expecting the next batch of results, and will there be some sort of continuous news flow? And
well, they're continuous. For Zgounder production, and or the resource and Boumadine, those are the priority at the lab for sure. So we will make sure that we have continuous information. So I will try maybe to alternate depending on the news, of course. But I guess the next press release that will come will update the Zgounder results, and we just announced Boumadine, so give us a little bit of time to accumulate enough significant results to make another press release. They will come like that, and throughout the year, I guess.
I'm not sure if you're able to comment on this, but have you, when you have stepped out now from the previous, 100 meters of mineralization intercept at Boumadine, have you seen any more indications that this is continuing in the new course?
We will wait for the results for sure. What we see, what we like, what we see. But again, as I said, if we go towards the north, we had some stringers as well. They were not mineralized. It's not the geology that changed. It's the quality, the quantity of metals in the veinlets fluid. So you have to see the deposit as multiple events. It's a system, volcanic and magmatic, that are evolving. So there's different pulls. So what exactly is the control for the veinlet pulls to have mineralization as well? So yeah, if I see veinlets 400 meters south, are they also mineralized, or is the corridor controlled differently structurally? So I have veinlets also in the central area. So we'll wait for the results to see. But clearly we see some increasing in fluid activity towards the south, and we'll focus on that, and hopefully the results keep on coming.
How are you performing any metallurgical work as of now? And will you do that? Will you release any results from the met tests perhaps this year?
We are not this year right now doing networks. We are more in the phase of, we've done lots of tests before. Metallurgy is known. We know we can recover every metal. So we know we can recover the gold. We know we can recover the silver, the zinc, the lead, some by flotation. Some would need some technologies like albion or oxidation. We know everything is possible, but before we go further in that, we need to have a clear vision of what's the size, what's the tonnage, what's the grade of all those elements. So we're confident. We're not going blind. We're not throwing money through the windows. No, like, we know we can make it economic. but we need a full picture in order to make more significant work tests. So that most likely next year, I guess.
Just to get back on this extremely interesting part, I mean, the potential feeder zone. Do you have an internal hypothesis of how deep it will be? Do you personally have something you could share with us? What you think?
We cannot share anything right now, but I can say we're working hard on it. We have the geophysics that goes all the way to 600 meter at depth. We're planning to make some EM. What's the term in English? Big loops in order to maybe reach 1,000 meters depth. We're also constantly having some Damien Gaboury, for example, from Chicoutimi University, and we'll get some other specialists, maybe in structure, in different field, in order to increase the knowledge. We also have some students that will start a PhD on the deposit. We are doing a lot of multi-elements testing. We are doing the X-rays, the XRF. So we are putting the tools together in order to be able to modelize. But it's hard to come with a model in less than a year for something that is completely different than what was believed before. So it will need more drilling, more work. We're aware of that, but it's just more exciting.
Maybe on Imiter Bis, I mean, what has the activity been like there? If you're in contact with the exploration teams there doing.
Oh, I'm in charge of the exploration there as well. It's still a project that we like. We did a phase 1 last year. Then we took some time to wait for the results. So we went to Boumadine, did a phase 1 in Boumadine. And basically, when you look at the two and you say, well, okay, we'll put the focus on Boumadine right now. So all the energy is there on Boumadine. Eventually, we would like to go and carry phase 2. There was still some promising results at Imiter Bis. But yeah, it's not the elephant Boumadine. It's a very nice system. It's low sulfidation epithermal, as we can see it from now. There's a bit more understanding to do and a bit more of drilling to do as well. So maybe next year, we might come back and do the phase 2 drilling. We'll see if we can acquire other license around to make it a more bigger area with more potential. Everything is possible, but for sure right now, the main focus are Boumadine and Zgounder and Zgounder Regional as a whole. Those are the two main focus. And yeah, that's what we are working on right now. So yeah, there's a little bit pause on Imiter, but it's not. It's more a matter of choosing which one to attack first.
Well, it's going to be exciting to speak to you again later down the road this year when you know more and you get a better understanding about the system. We're very excited about Boumadine and we'll follow it eagerly.
Yeah, I hope the next interview is live and at Boumadine itself would be much better than on in front of my computer trying to convince my screen, you know?
That would be great.
I think the site visit that you will have will be in June, no?
It's not sure yet if it will be Zgounder and Boumadine. So that's more department of Alex. I'll let him. But we're ready for both, and we're willing and ready to organize more than one tour. So,
David, excellent speaking to you. It's we're gonna talk more this year, and we're very excited about the story.
Have a great weekend, David.
Oh yeah, true. It's weekend. Hey,
it's time now.
All right, I'll call my daughter. Tell her Daddy's coming.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Take care now.